Welcome back, Eagles fans. Today, we need to talk about some of the chaos surrounding the team recently, because things have been wild both on and off the field. It seems like every time we turn around, there is some new story about fans overstepping boundaries or players and coaches dealing with drama that shouldn't even be happening. During the offseason, A.J. Brown had his car stolen, which, thankfully, he got back eventually. It was a mess tied to some incidents in Camden, New Jersey, and for those who know the area, you understand just how messy that can get. Now, things have escalated even further, because Kevin Patullo's house was reportedly egged after a series of disappointing offensive performances. This is where we need to pause and address a serious point. Going to someone's house, whether it's a player or a coach, is absolutely unacceptable. You can be upset about calls on the field, about plays that didn't work, or about how your team is performing. But taking it out in someone's personal space crosses a line that could have serious consequences. There have been instances in other cities where fans got too close, and people in those situations ended up defending themselves or taking legal action. And it's not hard to see that heading this way in Philadelphia if this behavior continues. Fans need to express their frustrations in safe, responsible ways. And it's important to remember that these are real people with families, not just faces on a screen or in the lineup. Now, let's shift the focus to the coaching side of things, because at the heart of the debate is Kevin Patullo and the offensive struggles we've been seeing. There have been discussions suggesting that Patullo should move up into the booth instead of remaining on the sidelines. This isn't a new concept. He has spent years in Philadelphia, handling the passing game from a higher perspective, where he can oversee coverages and make strategic decisions without being caught up in the emotional heat of the moment on the field. Being on the sidelines, you're right there with the players, and emotions can cloud judgment. You start thinking about individual matchups, whether A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith is getting enough targets, and suddenly, instead of focusing on the bigger picture, you're reacting in real time to things you might not have the full perspective on. When you're in the booth, you can see how defenses are forming, watch concepts unfold, and make adjustments that serve the entire team. That's been Patullo's environment for most of his career. And the argument is strong that moving him back to that role could help stabilize the offense and get us back on track. Analyzing Patullo's history as a passing game coordinator, it's clear that his expertise has always been centered around observing and strategizing from above. He was trained to see the field from a different vantage point, and asking him to make play calls from the sidelines may not be utilizing his strengths right now. The Eagles sit at 8 wins and 4 losses, leading the NFC East by a game and a half over Dallas, controlling our own destiny with the playoffs in sight and a realistic path to the Super Bowl. This is not the time for mismanaged experimentation or missteps in play calling. We are very close to being the top seed, and taking the right steps now can make a huge difference down the stretch. A simple adjustment like relocating Patullo to the booth could provide clarity, remove unnecessary distractions, and allow someone else to handle on-the-fly sideline adjustments, while the overarching strategy remains sharp and consistent. It's also worth discussing the broader context of offensive responsibility. Nick Sirianni has the ultimate say over the offense, but the current situation suggests that while Patullo is calling plays in certain moments, the head coach may need to assert more direct influence over how decisions are made. The balance between analytics, real-time adjustments, and player execution seems off, and it's creating unnecessary confusion. Situations where the team opts for high-risk decisions on critical downs or leans too heavily on statistical models can backfire if not managed with a clear sense of timing and circumstance. Every call must be informed by both data and context, and the current dissonance between strategic planning and execution has been painfully obvious in recent games. The Eagles have a very strong core of players, including A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and key offensive linemen who provide stability, yet the offensive output has been inconsistent, leaving fans frustrated and questioning the play calling. Another pressing concern has been the utilization of Grant Calcaterra. His time on the field has predominantly been spent in blocking assignments, and the performance has often been underwhelming during critical drives. Seeing a player struggle to execute basic blocking responsibilities can not only slow down the offense, but also place extra pressure on other personnel to compensate. There is a growing consensus that Calcaterra might not be the right fit for these assignments, especially when considering alternatives like Latu, who brings more reliable blocking capabilities. This isn't about diminishing his overall skill set, but rather about aligning roles with player strengths to maximize the effectiveness of the team. The offensive line and supporting personnel deserve teammates who can execute their responsibilities without compromising the overall flow of the game. Ultimately, the combination of coaching strategy, player utilization, and sideline management has created a situation where the team's potential is not being fully realized. The Eagles have the personnel, the talent, and the opportunity to dominate the NFC and make a serious run at the Super Bowl, yet repeated missteps in play calling, scheme adjustments, and role assignments are holding the team back. Every game counts, and fans are understandably passionate, but it is crucial that their engagement remains safe and constructive. The team must find ways to streamline the offensive approach, ensure players are in positions where they can succeed, and leverage coaching strengths appropriately by refocusing Patullo into the booth, reevaluating assignments like those of Calcaterra, and giving Sirianni the authority to guide the offense in a cohesive manner. There is a real opportunity to turn things around and fully capitalize on the team's potential heading into the postseason. Now, diving deeper into the offensive side of things, one of the recurring frustrations for Eagles fans has been the inconsistency in scoring. We've seen games where the offense looks sharp and in rhythm, and then almost immediately, it seems like every adjustment backfires, leaving the team with minimal points and unanswered drives. The chemistry between the quarterback and wide receivers is obviously crucial, but the play calling and personnel decisions can make or break that rhythm. A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith are elite talents, capable of making game-changing plays. But even the best players can be stifled by a system that isn't putting them in the right positions to succeed. It's not just about getting the ball into their hands. It's about creating opportunities where the defense is forced to respect multiple threats, opening lanes for the passing game and allowing for creative play action. Right now, the offense feels predictable at times, and that predictability is costing the Eagles critical momentum in games where every possession matters. One aspect that has stood out is the team's reliance on analytics over situational awareness. The concept of going for it on fourth down or opting for high-risk plays based purely on statistical probability can be valuable, but it must be balanced with the feel of the game and the personnel on the field. We've seen situations where the Eagles have opted to go for it when a field goal would have been the smarter choice, or taken unnecessary risks on critical drives that end in turnovers. Football is a game of momentum and timing, and while analytics are a useful tool, they cannot replace the judgment that comes from experience and understanding the flow of a game. This has been a point of contention for fans and analysts alike, and it's part of why the team seems to be struggling to reach its full potential despite having one of the strongest rosters in the league. Another critical factor is the offensive line and the running game, which have both had their fair share of struggles. While there are personnel challenges and injuries that can impact performance, the schemes being run are not helping. The offensive line has been asked to execute complex blocking assignments against fast and aggressive defensive fronts, and at times, it feels like the scheme is exposing weaknesses rather than mitigating them. A player like Grant Calcaterra, who has struggled as a blocker, compounds the issue. When assignments are mismatched with player strengths, the effectiveness of the entire unit suffers. This is where coaching adjustments need to be sharp and proactive, placing players in roles where they can contribute meaningfully and support the rhythm of the offense. Latu, for instance, has shown much more reliable blocking, and strategically utilizing him could help open running lanes and protect the quarterback more effectively. It's a matter of aligning talent with the scheme rather than forcing players into roles where they are likely to underperform. Beyond the tactical side, there is also the human element. Football is emotionally charged, and the relationship between players and coaches is delicate. Being on the sidelines versus in the booth changes the dynamics dramatically. On the sidelines, coaches are interacting constantly with players, reacting to emotions, and trying to make immediate adjustments in a high-pressure environment. Up in the booth, the focus shifts to strategy, observation, and planning. With a clearer view of patterns and tendencies, Patullo has thrived in that type of environment throughout his career, and moving him back to the booth could help restore clarity and consistency to the offense. It's about putting the team in the best possible position to succeed, not only from a schematic standpoint, but also by reducing emotional interference that can lead to reactive rather than strategic play calling. Looking at the bigger picture, the Eagles are in a position to control their destiny in the NFC East. Being 8-4, leading the division and with a realistic path to the playoffs. It's essential to maximize every remaining game. The postseason is a different beast, and entering it with cohesion and clarity could make the difference between an early exit and a Super Bowl run. The NFC this year presents a unique opportunity. Some of the top seeds have vulnerabilities, and the Eagles, with the right adjustments, have the talent to capitalize. Every decision, from play calling to personnel deployment, matters exponentially more as the season progresses. The margin for error narrows, and teams that fail to optimize both strategy and execution often see their seasons end prematurely. It's also important to consider the psychological impact on players. When the offense is struggling, frustration can mount, and that tension can spill over into practices, huddles, and games. Maintaining confidence and focus becomes critical, and the coaching staff has a responsibility to manage that balance. Making adjustments like changing play calling responsibilities, putting players in roles where they can excel, and ensuring the scheme aligns with both the talent and the tendencies of the defense can help restore trust and rhythm. Confidence is contagious, and when players trust that their coaches are making the right decisions, it can elevate performance across the board. Conversely, when decisions seem questionable or misaligned, even top-tier talent can appear ineffective, and momentum can quickly shift away from the team. Another layer to consider is the defense's performance and how it interacts with the offense. While the Eagles' defense has generally been solid, their ability to keep the team in games depends partly on the offense sustaining drives and putting points on the board. Short drives and turnovers not only limit scoring opportunities, but also put extra pressure on the defense, which can affect their energy and decision-making late in games. A more effective offense, therefore, doesn't just improve scoring, it enhances the entire team dynamic, supporting both sides of the ball and creating a more balanced, dominant approach. The strategic deployment of personnel, like Latu in blocking roles, maximizing the skills of wide receivers, and ensuring Patullo is in the optimal coaching environment, all tie into this larger framework. Every small adjustment compounds, and as the season moves forward, these refinements could be the difference between a solid regular season and a championship run. FlyEaglesFly News family, smash subscribe and hit like. Your support keeps the freshest Philadelphia Eagles updates flying in. Drop your take in the comments and let's talk birds. Shockwaves are reportedly rippling through the NFL, as whispers around league insiders suggest that the Philadelphia Eagles have just pulled off one of the most surprising moves of the offseason, according to sources close to ESPN. Two major stars whose names are being kept tightly under wraps have allegedly signed with the Eagles, sending fans and pundits alike into a frenzy of speculation, while official confirmations remain scarce. The rumor mill is already spinning, with analysts dissecting potential impacts on the team's roster, salary cap, and championship prospects. The intrigue surrounding these alleged signings is heightened by the secrecy surrounding the identities of the players. Both are said to be household names, athletes who could immediately change the dynamics of any team they join, if true. Their arrival would represent a dramatic shift for the Eagles, who have been quietly strategizing to reinforce their lineup with high-profile talent. Observers are now debating how these acquisitions could influence offensive schemes, defensive rotations, and the leadership structure in the locker room. Speculation is running wild on social media, with fans sharing guesses ranging from star quarterbacks to top-tier defensive players. Some insiders hint that these moves were long in the making, possibly the result of behind-the-scenes negotiations that stretched over months, while others suggest a last-minute blitz that caught rival teams off guard. The timing of the rumored signings has only fueled the frenzy, with questions about how the Eagles managed to secure such coveted talent without triggering a bidding war. While the league has yet to issue any statements, the chatter is enough to set sports bars and online forums alight. Analysts are breaking down every possible scenario, from potential position battles to how the newcomers might mesh with existing stars. Coaches and team executives are reportedly bracing for the ripple effects, knowing that the mere hint of these signings could influence draft strategies, trade talks, and even fan expectations for the upcoming season. Whether the rumors hold true remains uncertain. But one thing is clear: Philadelphia is at the center of what could become one of the biggest stories in recent NFL memory. Fans are already dreaming of new possibilities, while skeptics urge caution, warning that the league is notorious for planting stories that stir excitement without delivering concrete results. For now, all eyes remain on the Eagles camp, waiting to see if these whispers will crystallize into reality and whether the rumored stars will actually step onto the field in green and white. That's a wrap from FlyEaglesFly News. If you want the fastest Eagles updates, subscribe, drop a like, and turn on the bell. Sound off in the comments. Let's talk birds.